Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Other Side. Is that a fly in this? Oh my god, that's a fly. I can't let it get on my head. Okay, anyway, today we are talking about the vice presidential debates. I couldn't have a fly on my head for like 2 minutes. That would be embarrassing given I'm doing a podcast. So anyway, David, what were your thoughts on the recent VP debate?
I'm sorry. I was a big fan. I will say this. I think this debate was more disappointing than the last one, than the Trump-Biden one. Okay. And I'll give my reasoning for that. It's not that I think it was a worse debate. I don't think that that's true. I just think that it was more underwhelming because we had more expectations for this debate, right? Like, the Trump-Biden debate is, the two older of the candidates, the two that are, at least for this administration, will not be the policy wonks, right? The real policy wonks are going to be the VPs. We obviously know that in the context of Pence and the fact that Biden is old and will largely be more symbolic, even though I don't want to say it like that because it sounds like I'm priming him for the end. Right? Like, I mean, obviously he's still
going to die soon.
No one has said that. Shut up. But I do think that it's important, and in fact, they asked a question about that because it was that important. Okay. During the debate. But, so because we had so many expectations for those two, I think the fact that those expectations were underwhelmed, I think that in total between both candidates, we maybe got 3 questions answered, maybe. Yeah. I think that makes this a more underwhelming debate. However, there was a clear winner in this debate. And I think the clear winner of this debate was the Fly. That Fly is now the most popular figure
a bunch of Twitter
in
accounts.
America.
Yeah, man. I didn't catch that moment live because I was doing something.
I did. I got a picture of it.
Yeah, I saw a lot of pictures of this fucking fly, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like why is there a fly on his head? And so this came, and everyone noticed in the world, but he didn't notice.
Yeah, here's with okay. So, we probably should start with other things. But we don't do the things we should do anyway, so why start now?
Right.
Let's start with the Fly, the most important part of the debate. So here's one of the things that I think is a little strange about the fact that there was a fly on his head. One, it's not new, right? We've actually seen it before. It's very weird. We've seen it in a presidential debate before. There was a fly on Hillary Clinton before as well. It's not new, but the thing that's a little weird is that for the most part, a fly lands on someone, and then flies are easily startled, spooked off, and then they leave, right?
Especially during Halloween season.
Ugh, my God. But I'm not giving you props for that. But the thing about this was the fact that the fly was on him for so long, represents, it's maybe the perfect depiction of Pence's overall state during this debate,
right?
Which is he was unanimated, because any animation would have made that fly away.
Wow,
but
that's
the fact that fly managed to remain on Mike Pence for 2 minutes demonstrates that at least in that 2 minutes he was so still that a fly could get its bearings and feel comfortable on his head.
Now, and that's my question. Why do you think this guy, A, didn't answer any questions, but B, sort of didn't have the emotion that Trump had?
Because that's not his job. I actually think that works to his favor. Everyone knows that Mike Pence's job is not to be the personality. It's not to be the emotional one. Right? So, I don't think that there were any expectations in regard to that. Similarly, though, I think that everyone did expect that of Kamala Harris. Now, the Kamala Harris thing is a little, weird because she's got to balance both being stern and abrasive without also trying to come off as too abrasive, which I think is just a function of the way that women, particularly black women, are viewed in the world and in politics, right? I think that it is a weird double standard that she had to play, and she played it to the best of her ability. The question of if she played it sufficiently, however, in terms of how overwhelming the task is, I think that they were asking enormous, an enormous level of work from her to both be abrasive enough to combat and not come off as being so pushy, etc. I think that is a tough thing to manage.
Because I did see those comments. They were saying that she should have went for his throat a little bit more. Yeah. Instead of being the standard politician.
But then as soon as she does that, she's people are just like, oh, the aggressive black woman. She's too emotional. So as soon as that happens, as soon as she's too abrasive, people make 3 claims or make 2 claims with a conclusion. Claim 1, she's too emotional and abrasive to assume the presidency. Claim 2, Biden is probably going to die during the presidency. Again, don't know or think that statement is true, but they're going to make that claim. Mm-hmm. Therefore, if you're voting for Kamala Harris, you're voting for her as president, and then they use claim 1 to say this is why you should vote for Trump.
What if she was half abrasive?
What does that mean?
Because isn't she half black, half Indian?
No.
Like, she was like 50% abrasive.
No.
You know, Indians are also very abrasive.
Yeah, I met you.
I think she should have. So if she went 100% all in, that would have been half from the Indian, half from the black.
I hate you. But
no, yeah, I think you're right. She was in a tough position in terms of being too abrasive or not being abrasive. But I do think in general there were moments where she needed to be harder on Pence.
Yeah.
Because I think Pence was given these stupid ass like I think there should have been one moment where she was like, "Do you agree with Donald Trump that there are good people on both sides?" When that thing was brought up.
I mean, here's the weird thing.
And what was Pence gonna say? He was gonna look like a dumbass.
At one point, they asked Mike Pence about. Actually, this is one of my favorite scenes I've ever seen in Mike Pence, because Mike Pence is undoubtedly if you look and research him, some of the things that he has said and done are kind of funny, not in terms of the policy stuff, but just in terms of the personality stuff. Yeah. At one point, they asked him about the anti-gay marriage bill that he made in Indiana. And he essentially gave an answer that was just man, I'm a Hoosier. We don't believe in discrimination. And my first comment was, oh, what? I was like, what is that? And then I was like, apparently that's the state symbol or the state mascot of Indiana. Yeah. It's the Hoosier. And to this day, I still don't know what a Hoosier is.
That's a funny ass answer, even though it's stupid.
He said, man, people in Indiana don't believe in discrimination. I was like, that doesn't answer the question about whether or not you think you're discriminating. He's like, well, I don't believe I am. Right? But it was the same thing here, where it's just you had to force him to answer a question. I was like, he's clearly prepared to never give a position ever. But he was extremely prepared to ask. He was like, all right, so tell us then, Kamala Harris, what are your thoughts on the Green New Deal? Since Joe Biden said he doesn't like the Green New Deal. Right. He was asking her questions like a moderator, which we'll also get to her in a sec.
Right.
But yeah, he didn't answer a single. What?
When he asked her questions by Pence?
I mean, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I think Kamala had to be a little bit more aggressive and ask better, more pointed questions. I think she was good in terms of being firm, but when it came to actually debating him and asking him pinpointed questions that Biden did to Trump, where he was like, white supremacy good or bad? Those types of yes or no questions, I think it would have been more effective. But overall, I think she probably won the debate still.
Yeah.
Pence just didn't answer a goddamn thing.
Yeah, it was not a good showing for Mike Pence. And I went between MSNBC and Fox News after the debate to listen to night and day. Yep. It was Mike Pence did an incredible job on Fox. Then it's on MSNBC is bro, Mike Pence had a fly on his head.
If you go through people's Twitter, you'll see how crazy we just live in so polarized times, bro. I went through one timeline of a Trump supporter, and I saw all these retweets of just Pence, and then I saw another timeline, and it was again the fly and everything. And I was just like, wow, bro, people are living in different worlds.
Yeah. I know it's really, really strange to me when we look at these candidates and are question: do we expect more, or has the standard of American I guess the top echelon of American governance, has the standard just fallen?
Well, I think Kamala and Pence were the top echelon of American governance in that debate, right? Two standard politicians who had their talking points, who didn't talk over each other, who were very kind of just melodic in it. I mean, that's what a debate is supposed to be. I like the Trump-Biden debate because they were actually going after each other, right? At least Trump was a lot more for Biden.
Dude, after his son.
Yeah. And that's the sort of normalcy, I think, that Biden and Kamala want to get us back to as an American population. But to what you're saying, I think we're far past that. See, I just pulled up YouTube, and it's Pence Rex Harris. That's the headline for Ben Shapiro's new episode. And I'm just wow, bro, people don't think that's true. Me and David are no, Harris won the debate. And I'm do we really live in different worlds, or are we just seeing it differently? Because how does one person just say Pence Rex Harris, and it's
objectively? Yeah, it's that's a lie. I don't think that there's any nobody. First of all, Ben Shapiro, nobody wrecked anybody. Yeah. Let's be 100% honest. You can't call what we watched wrecking by any means.
Yeah.
But I think that you're also just wrong. I think Harris won the debate, and I think that it's weird that not only can we look at it with two different results, but we can look at the scope of those results as being fundamentally like different.
Yeah.
It's just like, because I thought it was pretty pedestrian as far as debates go.
So, what do you think were the best lines of the debate? I know the speaking thing. I didn't see that live either, but I caught it. I liked how pop culture tried to relate that as like a standard black woman thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm speaking.
Yeah, and they compared it to a bunch of like the way her face and how she was kind of nodding. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I think Kamala kind of played into that too.
So we will I'll get to the lines in a sec, but I do want to talk a little bit, very briefly, about the facial expressions, because there were people that were like, there were people on like Fox News that were like, oh, she was making a lot of faces at him, and I was like, oh, y'all, I was like,
y'all racist.
I was like, y'all white boy, y'all walking into a dangerous trap. Don't start talking about her face.
Yep.
I was like, don't get canceled immediately. But
what do you think they were trying to ultimately imply?
That she, I don't know. I really do think they were just trying to be like, oh, Kamala Harris
has like a black woman face or something.
Yeah, it's like
bad.
That black one right there.
Basically, that's what they were trying to say.
Right, but like, fundamentally, I think that is part of the way that debates operate. It's like, I've been in a situation where I've made faces. I've been in a situation where I've made too many faces at one point, and it's like, it's gone bad, and it's like turned people off. But like, that's how you debate without debating. Like, reactions do influence the way that people think. Because if everyone's just calm listening to something, even if they don't have a perspective or opinion on it, they just assume that it is true.
It has
because
to be
there's no pushback.
Well. Yeah.
Right? She was just like, oh, come on. And I think that some of that was really, really beneficial. In terms of the lines, one of the lines that I thought was a standout line that I didn't think applied at all, like, I think it was a line that he used, but, or it was a line that everyone used repeatedly, was just, they would say, like, I want my time, I want to talk, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
They would just tell Susan Page off.
Who is Susan Page, bro? I've never heard of this.
I have never heard of her either, but...
what type of name is Susan Page?
It's her name.
Again, like...
Susan.
Those are two first names. It's like, why do white people always Susan Page? Like, why is that... That's so weird, bro. Susan Page.
I forgot Page is the first name, low-key. I forgot there were people with names.
This bitch was as old as... Looked like she had a fucking pager or some shit.
Susan God.
Page, like... Susan Page.
Stop bullying. So I commented about her on Facebook, and one of my friends was like, stop bullying this Karen. Karens have dreams.
Yo, she's the definition of a fucking Karen, bro.
Yeah, but here's the
a fucking pager.
I feel so.
This bitch was old, bro. Look, I saw her one time. I was like, yo, is she like in her 40s? Then I'm like, no, this bitch is like 80, bro. Why is she moderating this debate?
Here's the thing, right? I think that's an important question. I think
we need to discriminate against old people sometimes. We need to tell these motherfuckers.
What is wrong with you?
Like, the president should be discriminated against for being old.
Yeah,
this motherfucker is almost dead.
Honestly,
both of them. One because he fucking can't put a mask on.
Stop talking.
The other one because
he's almost dead.
The other one because he's almost fucking 77,000 years old.
Yeah, he's gonna be 78 by inauguration, right? Like something like that.
Yeah, but that's too old now.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think that one we should probably have age limits on presidencies. I think that's just for the safety and stability of the country. That's probably an initiative.
Yeah, you have an age limit on when you can vote, right? 18. You should have an age limit on when you can stop fucking living at one point, right?
when you can stop living?
I mean, like, stop, doing shit that's productive, like.
Don't they, like, take away your license, though, after a while? It's like...
I mean, a 4-year-old can't do a lot of shit, right?
Yeah, but that's the opposite, right? Their argument is that you're too young.
But the question is, 94-year-old
you're too old.
I'm just saying, if you're that old and you can't function anymore...
Fair enough. But, like, right now, apparently they can still function, right? They definitionally, right now, they can still function, so they're allowed to run for office. But it's just like... I don't know, man. It seems a little weird how, given how old they are, that they're still like around to like lead the country. But I guess that's the purpose of also electing a vice president, which is what this debate was about. Here's the thing: I didn't learn anything. This is really weird, but I learned nothing about the vice presidents themselves.
Me either.
Which is weird because this is probably the most important. Like they're more than who you're voting for president. Who you're voting for vice president matters. Extremely.
Because they're carrying out a lot of the executable day-to-day tasks, right?
Yeah. more so than any other presidencies because the age thing.
Yeah.
And also, it's like we've never considered our presidents more at risk than whichever one wins this.
Yes.
Right. So it is going to matter who wins the vice presidency because you're likely also electing two presidents for one. So now we're in an interesting situation. I didn't learn a lot about them. Now, this is something that I thought was interesting, and it goes back to the question of lines. I don't think that there were any lines in particular that caught me. I just thought that it was strategy, and I thought that the strategy that both of the candidates used was really weird. Kamala Harris used it a little more than Mike Pence, but it was like, if you noticed, part of the calmness of the debate came from how slow both participants talked. They were methodical.
That's why it was boring,
and took their time.
Yeah.
The problem was they tried to tell whole life stories in 2 minutes while being super slow. Like Kamala Harris, they asked her a question. She began telling a story about her mom. Was like, my mom would be looking down on me, and I was like, great. I'd heard this story before, and it was a great moment to throw in. The problem was it took 75% of the answer time, and then when she was like, she started giving the answer to the actual questions. Susan Page was like, time's up, and she was like, nope. She was like, I have to answer the question. And I was like, you could have if you cut the mama story short just a little bit. Again, I understand the strategic purpose, but you can't just keep going. Similarly, Mike Pence was like at one point they asked him a question about the Supreme Court, and he was like, yes, the Supreme Court, very important. But I just want to let everybody know President Trump and I killed Qasem Soleimani, and Joe Biden did not want us to kill Qasem Soleimani. And I was like, sir, the Supreme Court is like the
also, you're just admitting to say, yeah, we killed somebody. We're happy about it.
The Soleimani question was before, he was just like, I'm going.
Yeah,
back.
I heard that was a theme. He wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah,
right?
He wouldn't answer the question until it was past the question, and then he would be like, now I have the answer, and then Kamala Harris is like, I want to respond, and then it's like, no, just. And
that's where the moderate Page didn't know how to. Handle that shit.
So again, not lines, but like strategy for ethos and speaking was just like tell a lot of stories, be long-winded, and then also kind of
typical
frame
politicians do as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of framing.
What do you mean by that?
It was just like there was a lot of stuff that was like it wasn't even what will we do. It was just more like this is what they will not do, right? So like on COVID, Kamala Harris. Very oddly, and you and I talked about this off camera, and I know that you have personal, very strong opinions, but about this that we should talk about. But like, she was just like, the Trump administration intentionally held off information that they knew. We would have given you the info, right, if we knew it, because that's the right thing to do. And it's just like
that's absolute bullshit.
Well, one, it's like
she wouldn't have done that. No presidency would have scared an entire country off of 3 cases in Seattle that existed. No presidency would have done that. No one wants to feel like a failure before they've even failed at anything, at the hopes of protecting things. There's no way you would have thought it would have. I just don't think any president would have thought it would have become that big.
Yeah, but she
definitely played into it.
She tried it. She said he held off on information that as a parent you would want to know, that as a school teacher you would need to know in order to protect your kids, in order to protect, like, functionally what she was doing was saying that, like, this dude almost killed your kids.
Yeah.
And if you had kids that died, she was like, he killed your kids. It wasn't COVID, it wasn't the Chinese, he killed your kids. And I was just sitting there like, I mean, he probably didn't do that.
Yeah.
But like also, like I can definitely see where you're coming from.
It was effective rhetorically.
Right.
It was persuasive.
And then similarly, on like Mike Pence's side, he was just like, well, he was like, y'all, the way that you operate is like really detrimental, and you're really like, I think the portion where we thought about this the most was when he was just like, you hate Americans.
Yeah.
You like it was also on the COVID thing. He was like, you are saying that that American people, the everyday average workers that have been out, that have made sacrifices for themselves, you're saying that their work has done nothing. If you're insulting us, you're insulting Americans, because Americans are for Trump. God bless America. And I was like, what? But then at the same time, I was like, that's genius. instead of making the focus of the Kamala Harris attacks on the administration, say that it's an attack on America, and because America has had a cohesive strategy against this, even though I don't think that's true, right? But then at the same time, sometimes it would go too far, like when he would be like, it's all about America. Like when they ask the question, it's like, so basically your whole administration got sick at an outdoor party that you threw and attended. Because you weren't wearing masks. If you don't wear masks, how do you expect the people to? This man gave the most long-winded answer and ended with, I trust the American people.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, what are you doing?
That's where I think Kamala had him in a good position. Because the masks things I understand.
On the ropes.
Yeah. If you are the president in the administration setting a precedent for the American people, if you don't symbolize certain actions, right? I don't think you would have stopped anyone from dying if you wore the mask, but I think maybe you would have had a better cultural sort of way of approaching this pandemic by symbolizing what we can do to protect ourselves versus saying it's bullshit, it's a hoax.
It's also very simple. Like when you think, more so than any other administration, the amount of people that just, I hate to say it, because I am personally not a Trump supporter, but I know a lot of Trump supporters, and it's like, yeah. I know quite a few. Well, some in the debate community, and then some that are just like personal, like friends around, like the well, not our neighborhood, but like.
So I actually want to ask you that. Wait, all right, I'm asking.
All right, what's up?
Okay, go.
Right, but here's the thing, right? I know a few Trump supporters, and I'm just like, the ones that I know are at least smart enough to create their own like determinations or decisions for themselves. They are the people that he says he trusts, like. I don't think I have any friends that I don't trust to wear masks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that for the most part, the ones that I know are, like, pretty responsible.
Right.
Right? But there are a lot of people that model their actions that are just, like, that are Trump supporters that model their actions based on Trump. Like, more so than any other presidents, like, when you wear a mask, that matters.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a symbol.
There are very few politicians that can manage to get their... Like, here's how I know that they would have worn a mask. You got a country of like you got 20 million people to wear a hat that said, to wear a walking contradiction, a hat that says "Make America Great Again," made in China. You got like 20 million people to wear that piece of apparel. If you can do that, you, by telling them to, can also get them to wear this.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
It's possible. So you saying that you're going to wear that thing significantly matters. But you showing that you will not makes it so that they don't want to do it either.
And I think that's the point that Kamala and Joe have. Not that you guys could have prevented shit from happening from COVID, but the way you approached it could have made it easier for people to deal with.
You could have created the same culture of protection. Obviously, like here's the thing, they like the question that Susan Page had that was just like, oh well, why do other developed countries have much lower rates of transmission than we do? Right? It's like, yes, obviously I understand those things, but there are a series of other factors that influence that as well that I think that are out of the control of the Trump administration. But the one thing that's not out of the control of the Trump administration is you can create a culture that emphasizes protection in the same way Canada has, in the same way Australia has, right? You can create that culture, and you have intentionally chosen not to.
Right.
Like, honestly, I hated the way that Trump was like, this is the China plague or the China virus. But I was like, honestly, if you're gonna call it the China virus, fine. I don't want you to, but it's fine. As long as you tell people to wear a mask to protect them from the China virus, I'll take that. Because I'm not gonna expect, who's expecting cultural sensitivity from the Trump administration? I don't. But at the very least, I want to expect that you will make the American people emphasize that. So this is not me just saying I'm okay with racism, but honestly, at this point, from the Trump administration, if I have to make a trade-off between you saying people will wear masks and you never saying China virus, call it the China virus all day. Put it in official language, but put it in official language and tell people to wear a mask. I think that's the point that needed to be made.
Yeah.
And I think that it was sufficiently made, but it was not emphatically made.
And by Kamala, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the sort of, she needs to be a little more emphatic.
That was the go for the kill moment. It's
right.
like, this is not a debate about you just gave an answer that was like about the American people. She asked a question about you. You can't avoid questions that are about you.
Right.
right? And she had a moment where they asked a question about her. Simple. Will you take the vaccine?
Yeah, she said if Trump says it.
She says if Trump says it, I'm not taking it. But if trained doctors that are in charge of the CDC tell us to, I'll take it.
I'll take it. Right.
I was like, that was the most measured response ever. He didn't even have a response. He was just like, oh, she just actually answered it. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm just gonna put this little response away, right? It was like, that was great. They asked her a question about herself. She took less than 15 seconds and answered a question about herself. That was the moment where it was like, they asked a question about me, I answered it. They asked a question about you, you started talking about America.
Yeah, there were a lot of moments where what's his name, Pence was like, we believe in freedom and liberty, and the healthcare question, right? Where they were about pre-existing conditions, he was just like, you just want to make the government bigger, we want to give people choice. I'm like, this is the same talking point that has existed since the beginning of Republican ideology. I'm like, when you're approaching a question as complicated as healthcare in 2020, your argument is like, people want freedom of choice. Government too big. I'm like, what type of nonsense? Like, you are literally just acting like you're not talking to people. You're just talking to a textbook.
That's why, so... All right, so this is not about the debate, but I think it's worth talking about. There was a lot of blowback against people, obviously, that were that were celebrating the Trump COVID diagnosis, right? Twitter had to stop. Twitter banned things.
People from wishing death.
Yeah, people from wishing death on Trump, and then obviously there was the thing with the squad that was like, well, so you can't wish death on that guy, but when people actually send us death threats, it's cool. And I was like, yep. I was like, AOC is setting up the run already. I don't know if y'all see this, but she's setting up the run, right?
She got a good chance of being president in 20 years.
Yeah,
a good chance. But she's only 28.
But the thing that was interesting about that entire scenario was, and to me the thing that was most impactful was when pundits were like, it doesn't matter whether you wish death on Donald Trump, he's not going to die. And the reason he's not going to die is because he has the best medical treatment possible.
Yeah.
We want to give people, essentially it was just like, we would like people to have half the medical treatment that Donald Trump has access to as president.
Yeah.
And we would like them to have half the medical treatment unconditional.
And do you think that's justified that he has access to that?
Well, he's the president. Yes. If you are, I would want there to be an infrastructure where the president of the United States should have access to the best healthcare possible. Similarly, I would want there to be, even if not the best healthcare possible.
Why do people get mad that when Bill Clinton got a blowjob? That was just access to keeping him healthy. Like, keeping his mind right.
Well, yeah, here's the thing.
That was...
So I actually did not, in my mind, I also did not understand why that was an impeachable offense. I'll be honest.
It's definitely not impeachable.
I understood why it was it was seen as an immoral offense, but I don't know why it was impeachable. And also that woman got destroyed for the rest of her life for the most part, which I thought was sad. I thought Monica Lewinsky got trashed during that entire thing.
A lot of rappers have used her name.
Yeah, she's literally become a punchline. But
anyway, Trump and healthcare. So you think it's okay for him to have a lot of healthcare while average people just die on the streets?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? I think it's okay for him to have a ton of healthcare. I don't think average people should die on the streets.
Right.
And that's the point that I think everyone was trying to make on the news. Just I think that the vast disparity, the fact that people can, people have to pray for his death if they want it, because any chance, if it's left to the medical system, he's gonna live.
Yeah.
Because he has access to that, and that should be something that everyone has access to. Everyone should have access.
They put some experimental shit in him too.
Yeah.
Some crazy antibodies, and 4 days later he's like, oh, I'm good to go.
That's the thing that made that's what terrified me. I was just like, what are they putting in this?
Right.
And at that point, I was like,
he was good after a couple of days, bro. I had COVID in March. That shit was a good 14 days of breathing problems.
Right. And I'm just like, how is he's driving in the limo past rallies. And I was just like, yo, that's crazy.
You're supposed to quarantine for 14 days. How is he going to do this debate?
I don't know.
And I know he switched it to virtual, and he's like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, he said he's switching to virtual. I know Biden has said that he refuses to do the debate until Trump gets a negative test. I still wouldn't do it. I don't know. I still wouldn't. Yeah, I still wouldn't do it if I was Biden.
If I was Biden, yeah, I wouldn't.
I've already said I think there's a disincentive to do it, and I think that holding it up and being like, it sends a signal about it almost inflates the the validity of this. If you're able to get the debate canceled, it increases the validity of the fact that Trump has COVID, and you get to make that a talking point. So you get all the press of being like, Donald Trump's so sick we can't hold the debate, right? And then being like, this is why COVID matters, and then being like, this is why Donald Trump is unfit to be president.
Right.
He got himself so sick that we could not have the conversation. Now, granted, he would be like, that's not an accurate description. I was trying to have the debate, blah 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 blah. You just didn't want to, and it's like, yeah, because I'm not stupid like you.
Yeah.
I don't plan on getting so sick that we can't have the debate.
All right. So, do you think ultimately this pulled people to voting for Biden or Trump?
No, I don't know if this moved the needle. I don't know if this debate moved the needle in any way, shape, or form. I just think that it set us up to I don't know. It was entertaining. For sure. But it was underwhelming, and I really do think, once again, the winner of this debate is polarization.
Yeah.
I don't.
But it seems like that debate was supposed to be anti-polarization, right?
It was
like
not.
Discourse, like methodical, letting other people speak. But I think that because they're so in their own talking points, that's not possible.
Yeah.
They're not willing to compromise, right? Like they're not willing to agree to disagree or agree with certain parts but disagree with certain parts. They have their own ledges, which I think is the nature of politics moving forward.
Yeah.
But Kamala will not say a single thing they did right. Because when he was like, well, Trump shut down the China flights in February, the first week of February, you guys called that racist. But that was good. Now, I actually don't know a lot about what that was.
I don't know
because Trump keeps saying that's a win for him, that he shut down China. And I'm like, it logically makes sense because it's coming from China. But Kamala wasn't willing to say, yes, that was good, right? She wasn't willing, I dropped that. She wasn't willing to say that, yeah, that was a good thing. She just, moved on from that. And I think that would be the solving of polarization, right? Where she's like, yeah, that was good. It was good. What?
Just looking at the mic.
I think the break of polarization would be when she's like, it's a good thing you guys did that, but you needed to do more.
Yeah.
Right. That simple submission of.
But you can't. But this is politics, man. You can't give up ground.
And it's like a video game now.
Yeah.
You can't lose your side.
Can't lose an inch. Two things we're gonna talk about: Susan Page and Brecklin something. I forgot her last name already. The little 8th grader that asked a question about polarization / why can't people just get along?
I hated hearing that question.
I was like, oh, this is such a cringy question. And immediately I was like, Kamala Harris's response was, go vote. I was like, what? I was like, she asked, why can't you get along with President Trump? Her response was, get him out of office and us getting along won't be a problem.
Do you think if she was like, you can't talk to a white supremacist, that would have been too much?
Yeah, I mean,
that would have proved Brecklin's whatever point.
Yeah.
But it is correct. Some people you just can't fucking have a dialogue with.
Yeah. And I feel like there are ways to say, we've been trying, these things are more complex than hate, love, etc. But I just, she just didn't answer the question. It was like, go vote. And I was like, yeah. And then
to an 8th grader.
Yeah.
What the fuck is the 8th grader going
I was like, and then I don't even remember what Pence's response was, but I know it was a non-response.
Something about freedom and liberty and humanity and justice.
But that little 8th grader, that was supposed to be the moment where the country came together.
Yep.
I feel like the point of asking that question was that we were all in America supposed to have a collective aww, and then I remember we were all just like,
yeah, because I remember hearing the question, I was like, obviously a young person would answer this question, but that's because they haven't been exposed to the harsh reality of competing ideologies and how those ideologies are pervasive. Because when you're young, you feel like everyone can get along.
It also sucked that they didn't really have a lot of time to talk about that because they had spent so much time.
It would have been the best question for Biden because Biden has been a true bipartisan.
Yeah, that's been Biden's thing. Working.
So he could have literally been like, I've been working with them, for the past 40 years.
Yeah.
And it seems like we want people who don't say that shit more and more.
Yeah.
Because that means that we consider the other side the enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you say you've been working with them, but you've been giving compromises that compromise your agenda.
That's literally what they said about Biden. They were just like, you work with white supremacists, and it's not entirely false, but also
it's politics.
Yeah,
I gotta work with everybody.
The polar opposite of that is that we remain in a state of absolute confrontation, which I guess is more representative of where we are. I think part of the thing is just that people like Joe Biden, one, don't exist that often.
Yes.
And two, sometimes it's really just a front. Like, you gotta think at certain points that he either truly agrees with what they're doing, which is weird, or he disagrees and is throwing it off, which is ingenuine. One way or another, I feel like what we want genuine candidates, because that's why Trump won technically, right? It's like people were just like, he's real, he's a genuine white supremacist, and that's why we voted for him.
That's the number one thing about Trump. He didn't give a fuck. He did not give a single fuck.
And everybody loved it. Everybody loved watching him. He said he could shoot somebody and he would still win, and he still won. And then according to Pence, he shot Soleimani. So I mean, he was right. He was right. All right,
Susan Page.
Susan Page. This lady needs to know.
Yeah, tell me about her. I don't know nothing about her.
I don't know either. All I know is I heard that name. I heard that name in the middle of the debate. I missed the introduction, so I literally did not hear her name until somebody said Susan, and I was like, Susan? I was like, I don't know what Susan. I thought they were gonna get somebody like an Anderson Cooper.
This bitch is 69. What is she doing? She's
moderating a debate.
She started in a movie called Planet Earth.
Wait, what? She was a movie star?
American journalist Susan. She's the Washington bureau chief for USA Today, Kansas. Why did they pick this woman over Anderson Cooper or like
I don't know
anyone else?
Here's the thing. I don't know. Well, we can talk about that in the end. Who we want to see moderate the next debate, if possible. And we can throw some wild ideas out there. I just genuinely want to see that at this point.
Imagine if we moderated the debate.
No.
No, that'd be
I'm not doing
fire.
That. I'm not doing that.
I would be giving them tips during the debate. I'd be like,
no, Trump say this.
I'd be like, Pence, you gotta clap back.
But yeah. So I'm watching this and I'm just like, who is she? But like this, it was the opposite of Chris Wallace, right? Chris Wallace tried to manage that debate and got walked over by the boisterous personality that was Trump. In this debate, Susan Page just gave up.
Page just gave up.
Like literally, she'd be like, "Well, I would really like you to answer this question." He was like, "Yeah, I understand what you'd like, but I'd like to answer this question." And then she was like, "All right, just."
So she didn't
try to be quick, sir.
She wasn't like Chris Wallace.
No, here's the thing.
If Chris Wallace, she's a woman?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is if Chris Wallace had been moderating this debate, but no, Pence, you cannot say anything else. Next question. Because it would have been enough.
And Wallace felt like he had his ego on the line as a journalist.
Right.
I really felt like he was like, if I say something and you disrespect me, that's like a teacher who says do your homework and you don't do it.
Right. I thought Susan Page came off very much like a substitute teacher, like the one that doesn't really know the students' names and can't really put them in check, but she doesn't have real authority. Like that's what it felt like to me. It felt like she had no grip on the debate itself. Now it was a lot more mundane and calm the way they disrespected her with calmness versus Chris Wallace, who they disrespected with the utmost energy. But she was wildly disrespected in this entire debate. He was just like, I don't care what you think. I don't care your time. Like, were speech times a thing?
Nah. Yeah, those 2 minutes, I don't think they actually lasted.
Who cared about the speech time? Now, granted, wasn't the last debate like 3 hours?
Yeah. I guess the VP debate is supposed to be less or something.
Yeah, but like they did not care about speech times. They started telling long-winded stories about themselves and their families. Like none of them cared that much about the way the speech times operated. He was like, but he attacked my record, and then he was like, I would really like an opportunity to answer that. And it was like, but that it wasn't even a question. Like it was just, they were just saying things at that point. So what I really got from this was Susan Page had no handle on the debate itself. Obviously, they were respectful in the way that they disrespected her. It was respectful disrespecting, but it was disrespectful nonetheless. I feel I'm going to make fun of this, right? I'm going to make fun of this because I think that it's objectively funny, and I refuse to muddle down my analysis because somebody feels disrespected by the fact that she was disrespected. However, I can also feel empathetic about it. I feel really, really bad for this poor white woman. I do. Because she got walked over.
Because how are you 69 years old and you don't know how to moderate a debate and you're a journalist?
I don't know. Maybe she's never moderated. I mean, journalists, right? Maybe she's never moderated a debate before.
Yeah, but she's been in the media. Like, you're supposed to know.
My question is also, why did they hire her? Like, I feel part of the reason why I also feel bad is because if she was woefully unprepared, I'm sorry. Who was running the debate?
The commissions.
The debate commission should not have hired her. So I feel like this is also a bad look on the debate commission. Because she did.
Well, they're trying to hire people that are not left and right? They're trying to really hire the most objective.
I get it, but like at this point, you need a polarized figure because they're the only ones that will hold the line. Maybe you need Republicans to ask the Democrats questions, and maybe you need multiple moderators. Honestly, for a Trump-Biden stage, you might need a tag team event.
Because on some real shit, right? Like, because I saw a good tweet last night. Someone was like, the Democrats care about climate change, right? And they're like, oh, we need to trust the science. And, Republicans are like, fuck the science. But, like, Democrats are like, trust the science. But then when it came to protesting, right, during June and July, the Democrats basically were like, protests are okay. We don't need to trust the COVID science that says if you gather together, COVID will go higher, which means we're selectively choosing what science to focus on. Now, obviously, that question is stupid because it ignores a lot of social circumstances. But the point is, that tweet got like 40,000 retweets.
Yeah.
Why? Because there were 40,000 Republicans feeling as if some science matters, some science doesn't matter, and that's the question they want asked to Kamala. And to be honest, I don't really know what her answer is going to be. I mean, she has. You can say a lot of stuff, but to be honest, it's like, yeah, there's science, right? There's a contradiction. That's the nature of the universe. Everything's absurd. It doesn't make any sense. But I like what you said, which is that you need to have different questions from different people. Because at least then the bases will feel like there is a legitimate question being asked.
I think that's the function of the town hall, which is what's going to make the next debate particularly interesting, is the fact that it's supposed to be different perspectives that ask the questions. But like, honestly, I just don't know. I don't know really who. Like, if you have a single authority figure moderating that debate, I don't know who can manage that. I think that there were a ton of people that could have managed Kamala versus Pence because it's the lower level, less boisterous one. I think that they accidentally managed to pick the one person that could not manage that effectively.
Substitute teacher.
Which sucks. But in that regard, let's ask the question: if you could have anyone moderate the next debate, who would you pick? Now, let's pick one answer that's real. And then let's start looking at the more emphatic ones. I've seen like Samuel L. Jackson. I said 2 minutes. I've seen that. That's pretty good.
That would be.
But let's start normal.
I would have maybe Brett Baer.
Okay.
I just think he's one of the guys on Fox News that's not like crazy right wing. And same thing with Wallace, right? He's not crazy right wing on Fox News, so I think he would be decent. From the left, Rachel Maddow. No, Rachel Maddow.
No, absolutely not.
Honestly, Van Jones. I would have Van Jones do it. Because Van Jones has made an attempt, if you've kept up with him over the past couple of years, to really understand Trump supporters. Like, he's did a whole documentary series going to Ohio and seeing all these poor white people and asking them. And he actually gets a lot of flack from the black community because he's like, I understand why people voted for Trump and they're not all racist. Yeah. I think he would actually ask some tough questions to Kamala, even though he's like in that Democratic Party. But he would also ask some really good questions to Pence. Now, maybe that's me being too nice to him, but I think he would be decent.
Yeah. Honestly,
Cooper. I think Cooper obviously would be good.
Cooper's Honestly, I think Anderson Cooper would make a decent moderator. This is a really weird one, but like I don't know. I think I would go like Lester Holt.
Yeah, I think it would be fantastic.
Like I don't know, Lester Holt has done it at least.
They say he asked some bad questions to Biden during the town hall, but I don't think that's true, bro. I think just every person just thinks like the other side's always gonna be biased or some shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I just he's done it before. He's done an okay job. I think Lester Holt's fun. Honestly, this is my perspective, and first of all, somebody black got to moderate one of these debates.
Yeah.
In 2020, you cannot have a situation where it is 4 white people that moderate these debates between these old white men.
Yeah, but they should have disclosed who's moderating the second debate by now.
Yeah, they should have. Honestly, I find out the day of. I find out who's moderating. I didn't even know Chris Wallace was moderating until Chris Wallace was moderating. They probably have it already set up for both the debates. So let me learn something right now.
It's going to be... So we had... what's his name?
We had Chris Wallace and Susan Page so far.
We had Chris Wallace and Susan Page, right? C-SPAN political editor Stephen Scully will moderate the second presidential debate in Miami, while NBC White House correspondent Kristen Welker has been chosen for the third debate in Nashville.
Those all sound like white people. Any black people at all? Did they think that mattered, especially during this racial time? No black people.
Yeah.
Not at all. All right, cool. All right, good job, debate commission. This is great.
All right. Well, that was the vice presidential debates. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really.
Hope you enjoyed our coverage on it. If a fly ever gets on you.
Okay, let me unload the fly punch real quickly. Mike Pence was the flyest guy in the room.
Oh!
The Supreme Court question they asked, that was just a flyby question. They don't really care about that. Those are two pretty good ones.
His answers didn't answer anything, they just seemed to fly by.
Yeah. I will say this, though. Like, there were some moments during the debate where Mike Pence said some things, and Kamala Harris just would not let that fly. She refused. She would just not let that fly.
She was like, no, you're not. She's like, I'm speaking.
Indeed.
And your particles of air coming from your mouth are flying through my speaking tube.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
We're not doing
this is ridiculous, man.
How did they both get to the second presidential debates? Where was it?
Utah.
So I think they had to fly there.
Yeah, I would imagine they had to fly there. Yeah, so there go the fly puns. It was not supposed to be. Somebody warned me explicitly not to make it the center of the debate. Congratulations, man. It was not the center. It was the end. But best believe we were going to talk about that fly because it is the most entertaining thing in America right now. The Joe Biden campaign.
And you know what? It's we're ending this episode. It's been 45 minutes and time just happens to fly by.
Yep.
All right. That's a Drake song too. Check it out.